Hi, and welcome to HUR at Home Lifestyle, brought to you by the DC Lottery. I'm your host, Angela Stribling. What a special night we have planned for you. We have our own special tribute to Howard University's own Chadwick Boseman. And it's very special. I mean, we lost such a great one. And you know, he was a proud Howard University graduate. And I want to get us started by reading just some excerpts from a letter from the office of the president of Howard University. Dear Howard University community, it is with profound sadness that we mourn the loss of alumnus Chadwick Boseman, who passed away last night after a long private battle with colon cancer. Boseman was a man of grace and humility, a deep thinker who had a deep passion for writing and uplifting his people, a staunch supporter of social justice. He did not shy away from using his voice in service to those without one. We now know he was in a fight for his life, yet continued creating magic for all of us without missing a beat. He lived a full life by the magnitude of his example. And I'm just paraphrasing. Although he was only 43, Boseman leaves to us a remarkable body of work, portraying Black men of honor, purpose, and dignity. Jackie Robinson, Thurgood Marshall, and James Brown. This young man's incredible talent will forever be immortalized in the performances and through his own personal journey from student to superhero. The characters he portrayed will be celebrated, but his greatest gift to us was himself. Rest in power, Chadwick. Excellence in truth and service. Wayne A.I. Frederick, MD, MBA, president of Howard University. Wow, that's a beautiful letter. And we have some people on the show tonight who were very close to Chadwick Boseman and certainly shaped his career. Let's start off by the distinguished Professor Vera Katz. Let's bring her on first. Hello and welcome.
Thank you, Angela.
I'm so happy that you're here. And let's bring on our other guests. Denise Saunders Thompson, you know, she was 17 years at Howard University and served as professor of the Theater Arts Administrative Program and producing artistic director and manager of Cramton Auditorium. Denise Saunders Thompson, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
And Professor Katz, you were at Howard University 32 years, if I'm not mistaken.
32 years. 32 years.
Gracious, that is amazing.
I saw a lot of changes come and go. President.
Yes. Oh, you've got some stories, I'm sure. Yes. You know, there's a young lady who came on my radar when she was on American Idol. And, you know, I don't vote for a lot of these reality shows, but I voted for her. And please welcome, she was very close to Chadwick Boseman, I believe, one of his best friends. Let's bring on Frenchie Davis.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I don't know if I was one of his best friends, but I knew him well in school.
Oh,
there were a lot of students who were really close with him and who maintained that closeness, classmates like Greg and, you know, people.
Oh, you know all the friends.
Yeah.
I love it. So, you know, I want to ask Professor Katz, first of all, when I told people that you all were going to be on with us tonight, so many actors that I didn't even know they were actors. For instance, where I live, there's a 24-hour concierge, and the person who's on, you know, works the day shift is one of your students. And she said she's going to be here tonight. Her name is Erica. I'm forgetting her last name, but she's going to be on here, and I'm sure she's going to have comments. And so it's such an honor. I mean, you know, everyone knows you, and, you know, it runs the gamut, all the great actors that you've turned out, you know, Taraji P. Henson, the list goes on and on. Speaking of Chadwick Boseman, what kind of student was he?
Well, he came to Howard Black and proud already. He was already grounded in his history. He had a strong sense of self, a strong sense of purpose, terrific vocabulary, very well read. So already he was an unusual student from the get-go. In fact, he taught me a lot.
Oh,
Can I tell you a little short story about that?
Please do.
Well, one day he came to class. He said, Professor Katz, we can't have class today. And I said, well, why is that? And he said, well, we're going to get justice today. And I said, really, tell me about it, because I didn't know what he was talking about. And he said, we're going to get the verdict on the OJ case.
Mm-hmm.
This was the first verdict, the first OJ case. And he said, and it's a long time coming that we get justice, so we can't have class. We're going out to the quad, and we're going to wait for the verdict.
I love that.
And I said, oh, well, okay, we won't have class today.
He was right.
And then he turned to me and he said, would you like to join us? And I did.
I love that.
Now, see, Professor Katz, when I said that he was always charming and y'all said that he wasn't, this is what I mean. He's probably the only student in the world who could convince you to not have class.
Exactly.
Nobody else would.
And the thing about him, as we have seen in his career later on, by many other actors who have spoken about him in interviews, is he was strongly grounded. He knew who he was, yet he was inclusive.
Yeah,
always.
He wasn't angry. He was inclusive and warm to anybody who gave him something. And when he asked me to join, I was very moved, very moved. And of course, I went out in the quad as everybody was yelling. And thank goodness the verdict was the good one, the first verdict.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's awesome. Ms. Thompson, I understand that you got some pretty good stories. I'm sure you do, with all the time that you spent. What are some of your fondest memories?
Well, first and foremost, he's Chad. He's Chad to me. I know his given name is Chadwick, but he's Chad to me. Chad was just what everything Vera said. He was a young, bright, Black man, and he knew it. Mm-hmm. He came to the university knowing who he was, what he stood for, and he wasn't going to let anybody stop him. Mm-hmm. He was very curious. He wanted to know and learn more. But at the same time, he was also challenging. He was challenging because he was so strong-headed and he did know and wanted to know more. I was coming to Howard University as a young professor, and it was amazing for me to come back and have, Vera Katz, now my colleague. And and as the Theater Arts Administration coordinator, and then also the producer for Ira Aldrich Theater, I was really dealing with Chad and a lot of the students, like Frenchie as well, on the business side of the performing arts. And so my relationship was always about business show. And that was another aspect of him that he really wanted to understand and control, definitely his image and the material and the work that he produced. That was something that was very clear from the beginning when he came to campus.
For a young student to be that self-aware. I mean, usually people come to school and they're just trying to figure it out, and very vulnerable and kind of over here, over there. It sounds like he came in knowing, he was focused.
Yes, he was very focused. The work that was produced, and I mean, Vera, in your classes, I know the directing classes were just really amazing, because the work that came out of the classes that we produced on the stages in the theater arts department, particularly his work, were just deep. They were deep. There were lots of language and just amazing.
I remember you, Denise, being the manager for the production I directed about Ida B. Wells.
Yeah.
and Chadwick was in it. In fact, the playwright Michonne Boston posted on Facebook a picture of Chadwick in the play. And Chadwick, this may have been prophetic. It's odd how life goes. But Chadwick played Thomas Moss, a true character, a true person, who was lynched because he had a successful grocery. And some people didn't take kindly on that. And so he was a very good friend of Ida B. Wells. And that's what got Ida B. Wells into...
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
Oh, I think she froze there for a moment. Oh, goodness. You know, that's the only downside. It'll come.
There she's back. All right.
And that's what got Ida B. Wells into her life work, which is against lynching. And so Chadwick played that character because he was always interested in doing noble, heroic black men.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You're getting, you guys are getting love from the comments. Professor Katz, the concierge I was telling you about, Erica Ford, just says hello.
Yes, very nice, very nice.
Yeah. You know, I was thinking about this conversation that we were going to have today, and I'm sure there's so many stories that you all have about Chadwick, or Chad, as you call him. If there is one story that stands out the most for any of you, whoever wants to answer first, to share with us, what would that be? Would it be the story about O.J. Simpson, or also, I understand, did he disrupt Charter Day? Tell me that.
Chad shut down the A building, but I have.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, Chad shut down. Like, there's actually a picture that I found in like an old picture from the hilltop with where Chad and
President Swigert.
Yep, and he was face to face with the president of the university at the time, and like was not backing down at all.
On the podium.
Yeah. Charter Day.
So what happened? Okay, so the program starts. He just walks up and takes over, or describe to us the scene.
Grabs the mic.
The mic.
away from the president of the university who's speaking.
Yes.
We are in the large auditorium and Crampton, and behind him are three more of my directing students. And all I could worry about is that they wouldn't graduate him. I kept thinking, now he's not going to graduate. Now he's not. But he had a mission. The mission was that he wanted to get the president to reopen the College of Fine Arts.
Fine Arts.
Yep.
And we all had a petition on that. And all of us, all the students, all the faculty was very angry that that had been chosen to do, to incorporate the College of Fine Arts. Angela, the only College of Fine Arts that was in the any of the HBCUs that dealt with the Black experience in the arts. And they were going to merge it. They did merge it, didn't they, Denise?
Yes.
They merged it into the College of Liberal Arts. Yeah. And Chadwick was incensed. And so he grabbed the mic and said, "Don't shut the College of Fine Arts down." They lifted him up bodily and took him out of the auditorium.
But one of the last things he did was ensure that they bring back the College of Fine Arts. Isn't that happening now? Are they still working on it?
They're still. So the tea on that is the tea on that is that this year, the College of Fine Arts was supposed to be reinstated. However, due to COVID-19 and budget cuts at the university, it has been delayed. My understanding is the delay is 2021 or maybe 2022.
Okay.
But we've got to still push.
Yeah,
we've got to still push for the reinstatement of our college.
we do. We do. And I'll be done with
Yes.
my master's in history by then, and then I can come teach theater history.
Okay.
Love it. There you go. And Frenchie, we haven't heard your stories. Anthony says they should rename it in his honor. That would be a good idea.
I've heard
Yeah.
that.
We've heard that.
And I think I agree. Yeah. But I have
So tell us about, I want to hear your stories. And when did you first meet Chad?
I met Chad my first day of school. I met Chad when I walked over to the College of Fine Arts and decided, you know what, I don't think I just want to sit in the recording studio and sing. I think I want to do musical theater. I think I'm going to audition for the musical. And everybody warned me, like, okay, girl, Professor Mike Malone, you better be able to sing. Don't walk up in there wrong.
Like a Simon Cowell.
Yes.
And I was there, and Chad and Suzette and Greg and Ikea and just the whole crew, they were sitting in the lobby and they welcomed me so warmly. That's what I remember the most. Like, being like the weird, because this crazy color in my hair, I've been doing this since high school. Being the weird girl, the weird black girl, I finally met other black people who were my kind of weird. Like, it was the first
kind of weird.
Creative. Yeah, it was the first time that I had like interacted with people who made me feel like, dang, I fit in somewhere. Okay. And like Chad and all of them sat outside of the room. They listened to my singing audition. They were cheering for me and hugged me really tight when I walked out of the room. And he was like, you, okay, yes. Like he was just always encouraging.
Beautiful.
And always, and just to piggyback on what Professor Katz and Professor Saunders said, he was always intentional about how he wanted to use his art and how he wanted to uplift Black men in his art. One of my most memorable Chad stories is when, I think it was his first job, and it was on a soap opera. And I remember we were all excited, like, Chad, oh my God, Chad's on a soap opera, like, okay, this is exciting. And Chad ended up presenting the idea to the writers, that they write in the story that the character he was playing changed his life around for the better. And instead of being this thug kid that they originally wrote the character as, that he would change his life for the better. And the producers and the writers were committed to their vision of Black men and didn't take his suggestion, and Chad quit.
Wow.
And I remember people in school with us thinking, like, what are you doing? This is your first big job. Like, you're just going to walk away from an opportunity like that. And a lot of people didn't get it, but I got it. And I always respected him for that. And look what God did with his work. Yeah. Look at what he was able to accomplish after that. And if anybody takes anything from hearing that story, it's like, you have to, and Chad even said it, when you're trying to figure out what your next step is going to be, it's better that you find purpose than anything else. Perfect. And he was intentional about living that way, and his life was such an example of that.
That seems to be the running thread through his life, because he shared a similar story with a different scenario in his commencement speech. Yeah. And how he would walk away if it wasn't in alignment with where he saw his career and his people. It wasn't worth it to him. That is so commendable.
Yeah. And then, I think of that often, when I have to make tough decisions, and, I'm always inspired by that. And it's really a reminder that you have to know for yourself what your purpose is, and don't let nobody or nothing else, talk you out of it or convince you that it's okay to veer off that path, because you don't know what kind of amazingness is waiting for you.
Especially
the thing that pains me so much is that he was a directing major.
Yeah. I know.
And I was the directing advisor, and he directed 3 shows while he was in school that he had written. Hieroglyphics Graffiti was one. you can gather from the name what that was about. And he was going to tell stories that have not yet been told about the Black experience. And we had a conversation about that once, and I said, well, I hope you're not going to be doing druggies on 14th Street and hookers, because that's not what we should be doing. And he said, oh, Professor Katz, that's not what I'm about. That's not what I'm about. And so he was in a position now, because in order to direct films, you have to be in a position to have connections. He was in a position with his connections from his terrific character portrayals to do the work that needs to be done.
Yes.
Now he's gone.
We didn't even scratch the surface of his brilliance.
Yeah.
That was the most heartbreaking part of all of it. Like, we didn't even scratch the surface of how brilliant that man was.
It seems, I mean, it's as if he was, I guess he did what he was supposed to do in this lifetime.
But is it me, or am I the only one who, whenever I hear about Hamilton, I think about that play that Chad wrote at school, A Rhyme Deferred?
Oh, A Rhyme Deferred.
Chad wrote this play, Chad wrote this brilliant piece called A Rhyme Deferred. All of the dialogue was in like hip hop rapping form. It was Hamilton.
Wow.
It was Hamilton before Hamilton.
Oh,
it was.
And the story was about this MC who had gotten like commercial success, and he lost his mojo. So he stole his brother MC's rhyme book, and the Orishas took his voice as a punishment. It was one of the most brilliant things I've ever seen.
Wow.
That was one of the first student productions I produced. It was.
And and every time people rant and rave about Hamilton, I think about Chad's piece.
Does anybody have the script?
I do.
I do. Where Professor Katz is going with this.
Professor Katz.
Well, this goes back to the founding of Hip Hop Theater Junction. So when we talk about hip hop theater, it was founded on the campus of Howard University with this group of students. Yeah. And I actually helped them found that nonprofit organization and wrote their paperwork to get their 501c3 while they were students on campus at Howard. And that play toured. It was sold out. It ran weeks at the university, and then they were able to tour that piece. And that was the start of hip hop theater right on our campus by that amazing group of students: Camilla Forbes, Gregory Reed, Chad Boseman, Glenn Gordon, who's now in Sangu. Who else was Suzette? There was a whole group of them that just took that play and really started the legacy of hip hop theater right on our campus.
Bring that back. Will we see that again?
Well, Camilla is the director over at the Apollo Theater now.
Yes.
What Camilla will be doing? She's going to direct Between Two Worlds.
Amazing.
Coates' book, which is into a film, Tanashi Coates. She's going to direct that film. And she was my directing student.
Wow. I love this. I mean, it's all just so incredible. And Professor Katz, when I just, think about the roster of successful students that you taught, Felicia Rashad being one of them, and tell us the story about how, I don't know exactly how it went, where Felicia called Denzel to help Chad.
For BADA, for British Academy of Dramatic Arts.
Yeah, that's
Well, I brought Felicia. I wanted to commend Denise, because if anybody could get any money in that department, it was always Denise who somehow raised the money for something. And so
that's awesome.
I had a series, and Denise was helpful in getting me money to do that series. And the series was to invite guests back who would come from Howard to give back to the students. So I invited Felicia. That's how she met Chadwick. She was not an acting teacher at the university. That's one of those confusing things that are in the papers, right, Denise?
Yes, yeah.
She was a guest artist, and she was an amazing guest artist.
Oh, she was amazing.
And that's how she met Chadwick, because he was one of the students performing. And then afterwards, the students cloistered around her and, tried to elicit from her a way to get to the British Academy of Royal Dramatic Arts at the Oxford University. I think it was, what was it, Denise, a 6 or 8 week program?
I think it's 6 to 8 weeks. It is that long.
Right. Yeah. And so that's how that came about. And then Felicia, in turn, contacted Denzel.
Yeah.
And Mr. Washington has recently said that he really didn't even know Chadwick, but he knew that if Felicia said they needed the money, he'd raise it. So he, along with some other people, raised the money. So that's how that happened, by her coming as a guest artist and giving of her time for free. And so that was a wonderful thing. You never know how these things are going to work. And that was
it's so true. I mean,
and Denzel, I guess, gave the money for Chadwick to be able to go to Oxford.
Well, he and some other people.
Yeah.
It's so strange how those Howard connections make things happen. Felicia's sister, Debbie Allen, she's the reason I graduated. And
is that right?
Yeah, because
the Allen Scholarship.
Yeah, and
the Allen Scholarship.
Because my career started when I was still a student, so I went back years later to finish. And I was living in Los Angeles at the time that I decided I wanted to go back and finish. And I had like all of these dance classes that I needed to take. There was no way to do it online. And somehow we figured it out. Sandra Fortune Green, God bless her, in the dance department. They worked it out with Debbie. I was able to take all of my dance classes at Debbie Allen Dance Academy, and Howard gave me the credit. And that's how I graduated.
Oh my goodness, I didn't know that.
Wow.
Yes. It wasn't for her. And she did not go easy on me either. Like, it was Dr. Johnson level 100. It burned, it hurt. I lost 15 pounds. It was real.
I'm starting to think of that TV show from a long time ago, Fame. Wow.
Here's a story about Debbie.
Oh, God.
Oh, God.
Felicia is the elder sister.
Yes.
And I didn't say older, I said elder. Elder have to be careful about that. So Felicia drags in little Debbie to me and says, well, I'm leaving, but this is my sister, and I want you to look out for her. And please be hard on her. Be hard on her because she can sometimes fool around. And Debbie said, oh, stop it, Felicia. And so that was my meeting with Debbie. Then on, Debbie was always out in the quad teaching moves to the the young lady who
the ooh-la-las.
The football lady.
Yes, the ooh-la-las.
Ooh-la-la dancers.
Yes. Always doing
ooh-la-la dancers now.
And I was always going out and saying, Miss Allen, you are missing class again. Would you get yourself into the class? And she would say, oh, girl, I got to do this. Girl, I got to do this. Then she comes to me and says, I think I want to be a directing major. Because she was, of course, by that time, a consummate choreographer for someone so young. She had studied in Mexico, in dance, etc. And so she said, I think I want to be a directing student. And I thought, oh, Lord, can I really deal with her? She's so fine. She's so fine. Well, she was my directing student. And I must tell you, that her project, which I never forgot, was called the Snow Black and the Bodacious Dwarfs.
What? Oh, that's funny.
That is so Debbie.
That's Debbie Allen style. That is for Debbie.
The dwarves, get this, the dwarves would stand up on a thing. They stand up on it and they do a signature dance. One of them had an apple hat and one of them had gold chain. And she choreographed different ones for each, for Snoopy and this. And Snow Black is standing there. And you got to remember, this is 1970 something.
Oh, wow.
Snow Black is standing there looking in a mirror saying, am I black enough? Am I black enough?
Huh.
And I said, she's a director. She's definitely.
She's an amazing director. Done a lot.
Creativity, the daring, the creativity.
Yeah. Yeah.
At that point.
That's the legacy of the College of Fine Arts at Howard University.
Yes. There you go. Yes. I love, you know what? People are smiling and let's see, Kokalani. So great to have Professor Katz on. She was in the School of C and unfortunately didn't get the opportunity to take your class, but she was well aware of your impact. Everyone knows of you, everyone. And I just,
I was in the right place at the right time. I was fortunate. I consider it a wonderful honor to have taught at an HBCU. Wonderful honor.
That's beautiful. And you've definitely turned out some great talents. So something was definitely working. It was all working. Professor Katz, Professor Thompson, Frenchie Davis, thank you all for being with us tonight. Now, I know you've got that beautiful golden voice. I told you I voted for you when you were on American Idol. I voted for you. So, I just wanted to ask you, if you don't feel up to it, I understand. But if you do, I'd love it if you would just grace us with a song.
I'll give a snippet of something because I don't want to disturb my neighbors. And it's
they'd love it. Your neighbors will be blessed.
I'll sing what I sang for the memorial that we did for him over at the College of Fine Arts. Okay, don't judge me.
You'll sound beautiful.
Thank you. How I got over, how did I make it over? My soul looks back and wonder how we made it over. How I got over, coming on over all these years. My soul looks back and wonder how we made it over. That's all I got. My voice is
Thank you so much. That was beautiful. That touched me right in my heart.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you for that. Wow.
She should have won.
Oh, thank you for
listen, in my mind, she did. She's the winner.
Absolutely.
I have to plug my book before we leave. I have a book coming out.
Yes.
It's been coming out since March, and you know what happened in March.
Right.
And I have an interview with Good Morning America if the book ever comes out. But it's a book about my experiences at Howard, but mostly it's a book about technique. So it's called A Cat's Walk. And the second title is A Toolbox of Techniques for Actors and Directors. And it's been about 10 years in the making.
Mm-hmm.
And the second half of the book has a lot of statements, not only about me, but about their techniques from people like Taraji, Anthony Anderson, Isaiah Washington, and Wendy Raquel Robinson, etc. And so it's chock full of tips. Because there's really never been a book, Angela, never been a book for actors of color. There are many acting books, but there's no book for actors of color.
And you taught the best.
And so
you taught the best.
Definitely taught the best. And I was going to ask you, I know you're at Duke Ellington now, right?
Yes.
Are you still teaching, people who are out of school want to study with you?
I do teach privately. I'm teaching on Zoom. And all they have to do is go onto Zoom and look my name up. I'm on Facebook also, you know.
Okay, good.
What is interesting about teaching at Duke Ellington is I have a few students who are Latino, and that's very exciting to me because I didn't get that opportunity at Howard. It wasn't happening then. And so that's interesting. They're bringing me Latino material. And so I'm learning, enlarging my lexicon.
That's good. Yeah.
And so that's exciting. And I have some very, very talented African-American students there too. We graduated some talented people.
Are you on social media for people who want to connect with you? What is the best?
My manager has a Facebook profile. My manager is doing my Facebook.
Okay, so that's a good way for people to get in touch.
But Vera, you are on Instagram. She is on Instagram. Vera J. Katz.
I am.
Yes.
Don't be shy, Professor
I
Katz.
tagged you on Facebook. I tagged you today on Instagram.
Without Denise, I don't know what I would have done without Denise.
I know.
Professor Thompson, what about you? What is the best way for people to get in touch with you?
I'm on Facebook, Instagram, and on Twitter. It's Denise.iabd, because the other side of me is that I run a nonprofit, the International Association of Blacks in Dance. And we're right up the road in Silver Spring, Maryland. And I'm very much involved still in the dance world, but also in the theater world as well. But I'm on Facebook, Denise Saunders Thompson, and then Denise.iabd is my handle.
I love it. And Frenchie?
I'm at Frenchie Davis on Instagram and Facebook.
Oh, that's easy. Frenchie Davis on all platforms.
Yeah. And,
I would love to stay in touch with all three of you ladies, and I really appreciate you taking the time. I love these stories. Before you go, I want to bring on Kokalani and Tony Woods. We're going to do something really special. And Kokalani, I know you've been watching this. This has been pretty good, right?
It's been amazing. And I'm looking at everyone chatting. They said it's just wonderful to hear the stories. And like I said, I just now, I was in the school C, and I always had cool friends in the School of Fine Arts. And I'm looking down, I'm like, damn, did I miss out? But no, it's wonderful. It's wonderful. You guys are right by the Blackburn Center. So I always saw the energy and felt everything on the yard. So I already know exactly. So to hear it, it's just awesome. It's just awesome to hear. So it was really great. And I thank you guys for being a part and sharing in this tribute. It was beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, ladies. We'll definitely stay in touch with you. Thanks so much
you.
for sharing your stories. This was amazing.
I love you guys, Professor Saunders,
Yes.
Professor Katz. Talk to you